Good afternoon, friends. SB Singh once again to discuss another dimension of the interview, and that is DAF, or the detailed application form. It's pretty interesting to decode the DAF because it consumes a good part of your interview, and many questions can be generated from the information that you have provided in the DAF. DAF is all the more important because this is the information that you have yourself given and you are accountable for that information, and the board will expect you to correctly analyze, interpret about the facts that you have written in the DAF. I like to call DAF your horoscope. When you show your horoscope to an astrologer, he is able to see the chart and make out what kind of person you are under the conditions of the stars. Similarly, when the DAF is given to the board members, including the chairman, on the basis of information provided by you in the DAF, they will be able to make out what kind of personality you are and what kind of questions they should put before you. So therefore, DAF is just like your own horoscope. DAF becomes important because it gives very definite and certain information to the board members from where they can raise questions. Let me tell you what kind of questions are raised at the board. The board, as you know, comprises 5 members, including the chairman. Chairman is a UPSC member, he represents UPSC. 4 are outsiders, they are not from UPSC, they are called as experts, they are called domain experts, and they belong to fields like academics, some defense personnel, some retired IAS officers, IPS officers, and things like that. So what happens that at least 30 to 40% questions will be relating to your DAF because of the interest you generate among the members about your own information. But it doesn't happen that in every case there will be a 30 to 40% of the interview time taken by DAF only. Only if your DAF is very interesting, you have given diverse kind of information in terms of you have a very interesting school and college profile, you have a very good job profile, your educational career has been a very good journey, and your hobbies are very, very diverse, then they will put their attention on DAF and they'll ask you many things. If the DAF does not generate any extra interest, it's just another DAF, then maybe they will skip the DAF by asking just a couple of questions, and then they will go to other areas. So other than DAF, the questions again will be on some current issues which are of national importance, international importance, and those current issues relate to the most recent issues. You can't expect something that happened some years back, they will not ask you. They'll ask you very, very current issues which are happening, the current wars in the world, or our pollution issues in Delhi, and so many issues that you read in the newspaper. Last 15-20 days current affairs and contemporary current affairs they'll ask you. Then they ask you some questions, situational questions, hypothetical questions, controversial questions, not necessarily, but sometimes they can ask you this also. And that's how half an hour is spent during the interview board. Now coming back to DAF, DAF is crucial for your performance at the interview because the chairman usually starts with your DAF. He initiates the interview and he'll just pick up some point from the DAF and he'll ask you a question about your school. Okay, you have gone to this school. What is the significance of this school or college? Or your educational achievements. You have done engineering, medical, or whatever. So they will ask a couple of questions on that. And then he will make you comfortable, and then during DAF answers, the idea is that you settle down for the interview because they are asking something which will not take you by surprise. If they ask you about your college or school performance or your educational achievements or other information relating to your family or the district to which you belong, the state to which you belong, then you are expected to answer those questions because you are in the know of things. You understand those questions very, very well. So at the same time you are answering the question and also feeling at ease during the interview session. So that is the usual practice to start from DAF, but there is no hard and fast rule that I cannot say that all interviews will start with DAF. Mostly it does. Now, as I told you, DAF is a storehouse of information regarding you and it revolves around you. So all the questions relating to DAF will be personal questions related to you. You have yourself given the information in the DAF and therefore you and only you are accountable for those informations. You have to defend the information, you should be able to explain the information that you have given, and you just cannot somewhere bluff around or fumble in giving the information supplied by you under the DAF. If you do that, then it will be a poor impression that you don't know what you have yourself written. So whether you don't know how to write it, or you don't know how to honestly write it, or you don't know how to defend it. So you cannot afford to make a poor impression regarding your DAF, and it's very, very important to defend your DAF. Now DAF is a very, very long 10-page thing by UPSC. They have asked lots of information from you. Some are just general information from where you have given your money and source of authority and all that. They are nothing to be considered here. They are irrelevant for the purpose of interview. What is important here, that they are interested in knowing a few things. Like when I interview candidates and my own all board members, and many of whom are UPSC members also, so they go through some interesting aspect of your DAF. First will be your own educational accomplishments. We are very interested in knowing whether you have done very well in your school education, what subjects you have read in the school and why, and if you have just given any kind of changeover to your subjects in college, then why you shifted from science to arts or this to that. That will be very, very important for us to know. Second thing they catch hold of is your optional paper. Everybody has an optional paper, so they will see whether you have kept geography or geology or medicine or political science or whatever, and they will definitely ask you whether they can raise questions regarding your optional paper. So in most cases some questions on your optional paper will be generally asked, other than your personal information regarding your school and all. Then their interest goes to your hobbies. Hobbies generate a lot of interest because they want to judge you on the basis of your hobbies. How you have cultivated those hobbies, how did you inculcate the various tools to develop those hobbies, and how genuine your hobbies are. I have seen that many people write more than one hobby. They play cricket also, they sing also, they read books also, they read newspapers also, blah, blah, blah. Or in some cases just people write 1 or 2 hobbies. It's okay, 1 or 5 hobbies doesn't matter. What matters is that how genuine that hobby has been, and whether you are in the knowledge of the hobby that you nurture, or you are very, very superficial about it. Your extracurricular activities also, some people write that I have done some social work, some people write that I have done some NGO work, some people have written that they have taught the poor children, many more such things. So there also whether you have really engaged yourself in those activities which you have written, or you are just writing for the sake of writing it, or you have just done it in a very, very superficial manner. That is very, very important. And I have seen many people, they without thought, not giving much deep thought to it, they mention that I have done this and I have done that, and they are at a loss to convince the board what did they do and how did they do. That is a very, very embarrassing situation, that you are writing about an activity in your extracurricular activity, but not knowing how you have pursued that activity, and your bluff will be caught, and it will be an act of dishonesty and trying to bluff around the board. and you are sure to get negative marking for that. Let me give an example. I was very close to one of the best known UPSC chairman, and he used to sit with me in my mock interviews after retirement. So he gave many instances of a good or bad DAF related interview. So I'll quote two examples, one good and one bad, which he himself confronted. He read a DAF of a candidate in which he had written that his hobby is to go to Haryana villages from Delhi, and then he will teach the farmers free of cost. That was his hobby. So this UPSC chairman who was chairing the board, he was very happy. Okay, wonderful, you go to the village, you take the pen and teach the farmers. So tell me, how do you start from Delhi, how do you go there and how you teach? So he says, sir, what, nothing, morning I take a bus and go there, reach there around 7, 8 in the morning, then gather the farmers and then I teach them and then I come back. Then a counter question, then he started doubting the UPSC chairman. He said that, look, morning is the time when the farmers will be either busy at their farm, they will rush to their farm to do something, or they'll be tending to their cattles, they'll be busy in the morning source of cattle or going to farms and all. So how do you really manage to gather them in the village and then you teach them? And then we'll come to what you teach them. Now the boy was not going actually to Haryana village, he had just written for the sake of it that he does it. Now the boy was fumbling. He said that, sir, somehow I managed to get the candidates. The moment you say somehow I managed to get candidates, you are caught. You do not know how to manage the farmers and then teach them and all that. Now this made the chairman very angry that he was bluffing around before the board, and when his interview was over, he wanted to give him 0 marks. He was so angry. Then his other members convinced him, sir, there is no policy to give 0 marks, give him some marks, although he has done a very bad job. So he gave one of the poorest marks for this kind of bluffing. Why I am quoting this example, that it should not be repeated by you people. You must be able to defend it very, very well and not like this. Let me quote another example, positive example by the same UPSC chairman, in which he was interviewing a candidate for the Indian Forest Service, and he was himself sitting there. So there was a guy from Kerala and he was from engineering background and he was appearing for the IAS interview. So he had written as his hobby exploring the flora and fauna of India, various plants, exotic plants, rare plants, like that. So the UPSC chairman would know about a particular plant. So he asked him that, have you ever come across this kind of plant? He said, yes sir, I know about it. Go ahead, tell me about it. He said everything that was relevant for that plant, and then he was so happy because of his genuine interest in the plants, which was his hobby, that he said that you can go now, I don't want to interview you further. So in just 10 minutes he dismissed him. He went there, he went out. Other members said, what happened sir, you have sent him so early? He said, I don't need to interview him further. Look, I am taking him for the Indian Forest Service, and I asked him about a plant. He is an engineer, he knows about that plant, which means he is the right candidate for the Forest Service, who has so much of genuine interest. Where is the need to interview him for this and that? And I'll give him such high marks that I'll make sure that he gets into the IFS and all that. Now see the two extremes of examples. On the one extreme, somebody is trying to bluff about teaching the farmers. On the other extreme, somebody is able to defend the plant as a hobby, and that's how interview will go on. So I've always been telling that you can't bluff around your way in the interview. Never try that through your hobby or this or that. So there will be interesting session on your hobbies and your extracurricular activities without any doubt. Then many of you go to the interview board while you are already in some job, either in a government job or you are in a private sector job or some such thing you are doing. In many cases, in some cases you are just students, but in many cases you are already in a job. So obviously they will ask you about the job profile, what is your work, a specific work that you perform at the job, about the organization and how working in that particular organization and the experience that you have gathered there is going to help you in a career at civil services. That always they correlate this. So it's not that every time your job will be related to civil services. So you cannot always try and force yourself to say, yes sir, this is related to civil services like this. But you can always try to make a broader point that civil services encompasses everything. So whichever profession I am in, there will be an opportunity to serve like this, and then prove that how you can serve like that. So if there is no specific linkage between your job and a career in civil services, then still you can make it a broader answer that sir, because civil servants are supposed to do everything under the sun, all kinds of activities, so someday this job will help me to be a good civil servant. Or you can say that directly I don't think my job profile will be useful for my civil services, but the qualities of discipline, qualities of hard work, qualities of teamwork that I gathered from my job, I'll be able to utilize it in my civil services. That we have to talk about your job profile also. And again they'll ask you that you are in a pretty good job, suppose you are doing a good corporate job, earning a good salary, in a good position, or you are this, you are that, you are a doctor, you are already an engineer somewhere, or some such thing. So they will ask you then why you are shifting to this civil services, you are already in a very good job. That also will be a question relating to the job, and shift it to civil services. For that you have to always defend the job that you are doing. You are not supposed to say that I don't like this job, it's very unsatisfactory, it's low paid, or it is very monotonous. No, not like that. You are doing something which means you have a courage of conviction to do that, and that's why you are doing it. So therefore what you are supposed to do is that you can defend the present job without maligning it, without downgrading it, and then highlighting the higher opportunity that you will get in the civil services, which no other job can give. And all of us know what civil services are for. Don't talk too much about the ideals of civil services. You will change the country, you will change the society. No member will take you for serious if you talk like this and all. You have to just talk about it that it's a very good career option under the Government of India, with very good job conditions and very good security, very good social status, lots of facilities are available. All this will help me to lead a very comfortable life, which is a fact. And then on top of it, you get a diverse opportunity to work in the public domain. This is the civil services, the only thing that will bring me in face with the public, and I can do something for the public. So therefore there will be a larger sense of satisfaction and actualization. For that also I want to join this job. So that if they ask you DAF related question on the job, you have to proceed along these lines. Now another thing that you are supposed to be preparing for is your choice of your cadres, because generally it is a given thing that people will choose their own home cadre, and that zone they will choose and all that. So why you want to work in your own home cadre, say for example Bihar? If you are from Bihar, why only Bihar? Why can't you work for Manipur? They will ask you such questions also. You have to defend why you want to work for Bihar, and this is not the forum for me to tell you why to work for your own state, but there are certain standard answers for that. What kind of challenges you faced in Bihar or wherever you want home cadre, how will you tackle them, all those things you will have to come up with. And then again they will ask you that your preference of services, that will be the last thing in your DAF they will be asking about. So many people write IAS as the first preference. In some cases some people write IPS, in some cases some people write IFS. So therefore your priority of jobs in terms of your preferences will be scrutinized, why you are choosing a particular job, what kind of things you will do and all. And if you say that IAS is my first priority, then they'll ask you that how you see yourself in the IAS, what kind of thing you will be doing if you are dreaming about IAS. Or if IPS is your priority, what will you be doing? Or Indian Foreign Service your priority, then they will ask you lots of interest that you have to evince about international affairs, Indian foreign policy, if you are not able to speak about that and still you say that I am interested in IFS, then you are the wrong candidate. They will say that you have no genuine interest in the IFS. If you don't have any much interest in law and order, protecting the citizens and saving them from undue harassment, then you are not the fit candidate for IPS. So you will have to accordingly answer why an IPS or IAS or IFS job for you and not other jobs and all. So they will not ask you for all the orders because you will be filling around 17 kinds of different jobs given in the DAF, but they will ask you about the first 3-4 choices and you should be very well prepared for all this. Now you see DAF is something that you have already filled in, so even if there is something wrong you cannot correct it now. Only thing is that you have to defend it very well, and for that you have to classify and categorize the DAF into certain categories. One will be your own hometown and your own father, mother, what they have been doing, what is the importance of your district, your state, and anything related to your school, college. First you work on that. You should have all information about it. I used to meet, and even now I meet many students who come from a particular engineering college in Kanpur that's called Harcourt Butler College. I know about Harcourt Butler, who he was in British India. But many students could not talk about Harcourt Butler in details. Now if you are from Harcourt Butler College of Kanpur, you must know who this man was, what he has done and all that. So I am not here to tell you the answer of that. Similarly, many students who came to me from Roorkee IIT, many students come from Roorkee IIT, and Roorkee IIT is famous for certain departments because it is in Uttarakhand, so obviously and naturally it has given more priority to research in hydrology because Uttarakhand has lots of hydrological problems, as you know. Hydrology they are very focused on, and lots of good work has been done by Roorkee IIT. But then in some cases students were just talking about civil engineering, electrical engineering, this, that, without coming to focus on hydrology. So this kind of information in DAF is very important. In IIT Delhi, if you are from IIT Delhi, then there is a very good professor called Kiran Seth, and he started a cultural organization called Speak Make, which became a nationwide youth movement for art and culture. So if from IIT, I asked personally this question that you are an IITian, have you heard about Kiran Seth, what he has done, what is Speak Make and all that? Or there was another professor in IIT Delhi who contributed to the transport of Delhi, transportation system of Delhi. He was a transport expert. His name was Dinesh Mohan. Why I am quoting these examples? That from your institution there will be some people who have distinguished themselves in some area of life, and if you do not know about them, which means you have not deeply engaged with the institution in which you are reading. So definitely you will have to know about all these things also. Absolutely no doubt about that. So first to prepare your own hometown and your parental occupation and this and that, and then focus on your job because you have done some jobs, so job profile and all. Third, you must defend your hobbies very well. If you are pursuing any hobby, it should not be just like an average man's hobby. It should be a very deep hobby in which you should know the various nuances of that hobby. If it's music, if it's poetry, whatever it is, then you have to know, and you should know some people who have excelled in that particular hobby, and you have to talk about these things. Otherwise, what kind of hobby you are pursuing? It's like everybody else. It does not distinguish if you are not able to talk very well about that hobby. It does not, however, mean that you are supposed to know all the technical details relating to that hobby. You can always say that, sir, I have kept it to the hobby level and I have not mastered it, and then if I get time in future, I'll try to further get command over this hobby. That always you can come away with this kind of answer. So no need to be a perfect in your hobby. At the same time, you can't be very superficial also about your hobby. That is also not a desirable thing at the interview. And ultimately, you should practice your DAF with a good mock board under the mentorship of somebody who is very competent, and that's very important, who is guiding you and who is mentoring you about your DAF is very, very important, because unless the person himself is very knowledgeable and very good exposure, just some people claiming to be pseudo experts in the field of IAS interview will not serve your purpose. This you can take as a matter of warning. So get guided by some very genuine, well-read experts rather than superficially marketed experts. They just do not know anything what happens in IAS interview, and what they say is all in their imagination. The world is not what they tell you. The world is very, very different from what they tell you. So you be very, very careful about that. If there is any DAF related query, I am heading the interview board in the coming months here. You are welcome to contact me. I will try to help you. Thank you.